Introducing a Gilmore Girls podcast. Welcome to Coffee and an IV, where we take a look back at our favorite TV show along with all of the beloved characters. It's time to revisit Stars Hollow. Hello, everybody! Welcome to the first ever episode of Coffee and an IV, a Gilmore Girls podcast. I'm Breann.
I'm Jennifer.
And we are extremely excited for this. So I have loved Gilmore Girls for a long time. I have watched the series, binged it many times. But Jennifer here actually just recently did it.
Yeah, so I had surgery. I had Achilles reconstruction surgery.
That was hard.
It was a hard word. Reconstruction. And binged it while I was non-weight bearing. So
yeah. And that was for 2 full weeks.
Yeah.
But it took a little bit longer. I mean,
yeah.
I know some people binge TV shows like that, like extremely quick.
Sure.
But it was a fun time.
It was good.
So Jennifer and I have been best friends for several years. Jennifer actually has known my family for a long time. She's a bit older than me.
Supposed to put that other thing up.
Oh crap!
It's okay.
Thanks.
It's okay. Keep going.
Do you want me to just throw it up there?
Throw it up there.
Okay.
They don't care. This is the first show, so they're fine. You're good. You're understanding.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you have no idea what she just said. But on YouTube, so we're posting all the episodes on YouTube too. There's a little overlay that I made, and It needed to go up, right? So thanks for reminding me there.
You're welcome.
But yeah, as I was saying, you tried to segue into that, but you are a bit older than me. Is what I was saying.
Just a little.
So Jennifer's been a family friend for a while, but my family and her recently reconnected, and we became best friends, and we just shared this love for Gilmore Girls. So we thought, what the heck?
It's like an addictive show. You start watching the first episode, and I was like,
you at first, if you remember, you didn't like it.
Yeah,
you at first, you were like, this is a little slow. But I think it's the pilot in general, which we're about to dig into.
Yeah.
But then you get really connected. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you love it too. So,
yeah,
you just fall in love with the characters.
Yeah, it has like a mixture of all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool.
Yeah, you can connect with someone in the cast.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite character?
Kirk.
That was so funny when I asked you that the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And I was going through it, and I was like,
Yeah, so reach out to us if Kirk is also your favorite character.
He's cool. He's just cool. He's so weird, but he's funny.
So I like Lorelai.
Yeah.
I think I relate to her some. I'm a mom, and I love her momming technique. I think she's a really cool mom, but I also think it was because she was so young when she became a mom.
Well, her and Rory grew up together.
Basically. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, she's my favorite. So I guess we need to dig into a little bit about how this is going to work. So we're going to try our best to do 3 episodes a week. And if we get really excited, we may do more. But that's the goal for right now. If we don't do 3, then know that week our lives got crazy nuts. So we're going to try to do 3. So the first episode every week, no matter what, will always be us digging into whatever episode. And you can see it up in the corner if you're watching YouTube. It explains exactly which show we're on. So obviously it's our first episode. So we're on season 1, episode 1, the pilot. So we're going to dig into it, just kind of talk about it. And then the other 2 episodes are just going to be fun ones where we either pull out some crazy recipe that they cooked or displayed, or we're going to talk about like a character or a character's relationship, their relationships with one another. We're just going to do something fun.
They should have to identify what
episode
the dessert was in.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Well, we're on the episode though. We do.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I thought you were going with out. No, but I thought you were about to say they'll have to identify the character based on like the description we give them.
That's a good one. That's what I meant.
That would be fun.
That's what I meant.
Oh yeah, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first episode, and the first episode. Excuse me, I just moved that whole
It's
thing.
okay.
It's because I'm nervous. Okay, it's okay. We're just starting. But we're gonna go ahead and start digging into the pilot.
Do it.
Are you ready for this?
Let's go.
So the beginning, Lorelai is walking down Stars Hollow, which definitely looks different.
It's a little different
than what we're used to. So we just finished binging with Jennifer, so we're used to the Stars Hollow in later episodes,
which is really cool.
Yes, but this one looks a little different. We noticed that immediately. Mm-hmm. And she walks into Luke's, and it actually stands alone, I think, in the pilot.
Yeah, we stopped it. We were like, wait a minute.
That's not the same.
It's not the same.
I guess when you aren't like critiquing it like we are for a podcast, it's kind of, you don't really notice it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But unless you've watched it a million times. And it definitely has more like hardware store decoration, which I kind of liked it.
It was cool.
But it didn't suit him, I don't feel like, because I don't think he would put that much time into like decorating it that way. Does that make sense?
Well, I took it was his dad's stuff and he just left it there.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Luke would do that.
Yeah.
But I just like the other Luke's better.
Yeah.
I feel like that one feels too cluttered.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more simple. But Luke, we can talk about Luke because, oh my gosh. We are fans of Luke.
Go Luke.
And this episode also immediately introduces her coffee addiction, which I too am addicted to coffee. Hence the title. But the fun fact is
I do not drink coffee.
Jennifer does not like coffee at all. But I'm like, drink it in the morning, have another cup, have some in the afternoon, have a couple in the evening, and it does not affect my sleep at all. So I definitely can connect with Lorelai on that note. But immediately the creepo guy enters to flirt. And I literally love that they immediately show her whip. She immediately insults him with a Jack Kerouac reference, and it just starts rolling. So I love that about her. I love it about the pilot.
Sorry.
You're good. So the other thing that I have a little bit of a problem with in the pilot, and you guys may not agree with me, but Lorelai seems like super girly girl in the pilut. Do you agree?
And they make her look really younger too.
They do, and I get that, but I think she I don't remember exactly. She offers like when Rory comes in like lip gloss and like is caring a lot about what she's wearing. Later she talks about her sweater, like, we're wearing this. Like, yeah. I don't know. I feel like Lorelai has great style, but she just never was super like style oriented. I guess like talked about style throughout the rest of the series. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So also there's the famous, I've never been through here before. And I always laugh at that because if you watch it on Netflix, which it is available on Netflix, they always, like if you go and click on it, it immediately says that. And so it's like annoying to me now. Yeah. So when I heard it in the reference, I was like, okay, well, that's still annoying. And I love that immediately it showed Rory and Lorelai's like mother-daughter connection. Yeah. Because the comments they made to Creepo Guy were perfection.
Yeah, it was great.
It immediately introduced all of that.
What do you say? I have a friend.
Yeah.
I have a friend with me, and she was 16. Like, she's 16. And they go out the door.
And she's like, are you my new daddy? Yeah. That's my most favorite one. Yeah. I absolutely love that. Yeah. So after that, that's when the intro is played. And it's actually a really cool intro. We have to mention it since it's the first episode. We have to talk about the intro. Most of the time when I watch series on Netflix, I get really annoyed and I'm like, oh my gosh, skip the series or skip the introduction. Sure. But this one is really good. And I feel like it really encompasses what Gilmore Girls is all about. Okay, after the introduction, we meet a beloved character, Michelle. What are your thoughts on Michelle?
Just love him or hate him. He's so sarcastic. But I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, it has everybody in it, all kind of personalities. And he's like, you have to have one of Michelle.
I think we all have a Michelle in our life.
Yeah.
I'm not your Michelle, Emma.
No, sometimes you're not French. You're not French.
Yeah. And then we also meet the Heart Lady, Drella, which she's only in a few episodes. I'm not completely sure
I
how
think
many.
she's Michelle's cousin. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
But didn't you read that she actually was supposed to be Suki?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I also read her schedule didn't allow her to be there for some of the filming, so she had to give up that role. First of all, oh my gosh, I could not give up that role because how amazing would that be, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I also don't feel like she's a Suki type.
Suki is Suki.
But her role always confused me as the Heart Lady. But I kind of think that her and Michelle both, they show pieces of Lorelai because they show how well she manages people and the inn. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like
they're two really like they're bold characters.
Michelle, shut up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, why are you answering the phone that way? Why are you talking to the customers that way?
Or not answering the phone.
Exactly.
Yes. It ring.
Exactly. Yeah. I also just something that maybe not everybody notices. I immediately see how comfortable Rory is in the inn, and I think that's another just cool little part that they added in just to show. I mean, we later learned that she grew up there, and it just kind of builds on the whole dynamic. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, next scene, we get to meet the fabulous Lane, who we love, and to fit her character perfectly, she is changing clothes before she goes into school.
Hiding from her mom.
Because of her parents. Yeah. Which her parents, I guess they're referenced, but we only ever meet her mother until I can't think of the word.
We've lost the word. the newest
series.
It's not a re-air because it didn't re-air.
Yes.
Well, just comment below and give us that word.
It's like I'll remember it after we click done.
Yeah.
I'll remember it. And then we meet Dean. And this is the scene. I used it in a meme, in a graphic on our Instagram, where it's like his face, he's just like following Rory. And it's just this really awkward look on his face, total teenage boy moment.
Yep.
And I don't know. I still, to this day, I don't know how I feel about Dean. There's moments where you love him, and then moments where it's like, what are you doing? He's super controlling a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Once they get into a relationship.
It was like early on, he was obnoxious. And then later on, he kind of chilled out a little bit. But yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I know who I like, so I'm not going to tell you. We're not there yet. Can I tell him?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Team Jess.
Yeah. Team Jess for sure. Yeah. So after that, okay, so I also noted that you see in this scene also that Rory is very different than the other girls in her high school. And this high school you don't see very much because she later is accepted into Chilton, right? Yeah. But it shows, and I think that was important to reference so that you see why Chilton fits her so well.
Well, you see her maturity level.
Right. Versus the other girls who are painting their fingernails in class, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the comment. Was she writing? Or whatever.
Oh, it's the assignment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you that way in school? Because that was me.
No.
That was definitely me.
I wasn't writing the assignment, but I wasn't painting my fingernails either, so.
Okay. Yeah. You were probably just talking.
I was getting out of class to go to the gym to play basketball.
Okay, that makes sense. So then we transition out of the school scene and we meet the fabulous Suki, but we meet a different Suki than we're used to.
Accident prom.
She's a mess.
Yeah.
She burns like several things. I'm not going to name the number because I don't know exactly, but she burns several things throughout this episode. Yeah. And
doesn't she catch the stove on fire?
Yeah, they had to replace the whole stove. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't prefer this Suki. No. Because I like the more mature, but I think it shows her, and we'll talk about it in later episodes, she matures a lot. Which her and Lorelai right now, they're young. Yeah. You know what I mean? So and then of course, again, it shows Lorelai just handling all the things like a complete boss lady, and Suki is one of those people that she has to manage. So I think that's important to note. But yeah, I'm pretty sure in the first scene she's bleeding.
Yeah, she cut her. What'd she do?
I don't remember exactly.
I forget now.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but she cuts her hand and
Yeah.
And then we do another quick transition, which is, typical for pilots. You're going to see as many different scenes and places as possible into the good old Kim's Antiques. And you meet the lovely Mrs. Kim.
It's like a maze.
It is.
You get lost.
She's like, I'm over here.
Yeah.
By the table.
By
Which
the table?
table?
Which table?
Right. So we find out very quickly that Mrs. Kim does not trust unmarried women.
And talk about fast talking. Like, she's like,
yes,
I'm out of there.
For sure. Yeah. So, AKA unmarried women, Lorelai, which in turn means she does not trust Rory. So there's a very awkward.
Yeah.
I never had friends, parents that treated me that way.
No,
Did you?
No.
It was always like very welcoming. And Mrs. Kim is like, nope, we're not going to be welcoming. And she later says, did any of the girls get pregnant, drop out? And that was Mrs. Kim completely. You understood her when she said that.
Yeah.
So then, the pilot, we can't not mention the huge Chilton acceptance letter. That's the huge part of the whole pilot. Rory gets the big news that she gets to start on Monday. And Lorelai makes an offhanded comment about her mother, which kind of prefaces how the relationship is later showcased in the remainder of the show.
You think about it. Did she not think about having to pay to go to school there?
I don't think
she applied.
I think Lorelai has so many things on her mind with running the inn and just trying to manage.
Yeah.
That
it just
that
was
just it was just like, oh my gosh,
pay.
So excited. But yeah, there's a big issue that she does not have the money for Chilton, right? So we get our first look into Lorelai's house, and it's different than the remainder of the show as well.
Yeah, there's like a door. Remember? There's
a door. In the living room, right? Another one besides the front door. Yeah, it was weird. But some of the things remained the same, but it was, you just kind of looked at it like, But that happens with pilots, I think, a lot, where they
change.
They make suggestions, people make suggestions, the higher ups.
They should just ask all of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So later, this introduces Suki and Lorelai's relationship a little bit more. You see Lorelai and Suki on the front porch, which I'm obsessed with. Any scene on the front porch, I think it's so magical.
So we're in the South. Front porches. Yeah. So front porch swings and rockers, chairs, whatever, being on the front porch is cool.
Absolutely. So you're able to see how close Suki is to Lorelai when she offers to sell personal things in order to put Rory through school. Yeah. But I think that's so important. Through the whole series, you see how this town has come around Lorelai and Rory, and they've become literally friends that have become family, which I'm sure all of you are super familiar with. And I have that in you, Jen. It's just oh no, we might as well just be family because we're just so close. And that's how literally Stars Hollow has become that for Lorelai and Rory. And I love that.
I'm not selling my car to put your kid through school, though.
Really?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So after the first episode, this is no longer a podcast anymore. We're no longer friends.
We're done.
Exactly. So, okay. Next, we see Emily Gilmore.
Ooh.
It's the big introduction.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Suki kind of references that in the conversation they have. She's like, so you could ask. And Lorelai said, nope, you can't mention that. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then she takes the plunge because it's Rory, right? And Lorelai's going to do anything and everything for Rory. So we meet Emily, and then we get the intro to Richard, which business class is brought up and how Lorelai's taking it at a local college, and they act completely unaware. But Lorelai, of course, is like, I told you about it. And they're like, no, you didn't. So this whole scene, it's introducing their relationship, their dynamic.
But you see, her dad is very standoffish. He's saying, oh, you're tall.
Yeah.
Looking at Rory. So you see that distance.
Oh, you mean later on the first Friday night dinner. Yeah. I completely understand that. So they're in the scene with Lorelai, and Richard immediately says, okay, so you need money. And I feel like that kind of introduces, maybe she's asked for it before. We don't know for sure. And she mentions the Chilton tuition. And it's like, oh, Chilton, that's such a nice school. And you see that interest, but also you see the complete guilt trip they give her.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we'll give you the money. And then Emily Gilmore's mind starts just going through all the possibilities that she could do.
And here
she's
comes
like,
the Friday night dinners.
Yes. And we are so excited. One of our episodes will be released on Friday nights. So we're going to do something fun with that. But yeah, the Friday night dinners. So if you get your money for Chilton, that means you're going to come every Friday night to dinner with us. Which I don't know. Personally, if I knew the people didn't want to be there, I wouldn't want them to come. Do you know what I mean? But I guess the mother-daughter thing.
I think that shows she did want a relationship.
But she just has a very odd way of showing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then we go back to a school scene. So it's Rory and Lane. And Rory is moving out because she has found out about Chilton. And this is when Dean makes his first move. He mentions Rosemary's Baby. And he connects with Rory as she brings up that quote from the book and movie. And so describe Dean in one word. And I said annoying, but you just said obnoxious. And that makes sense.
Yes.
Some people like Dean, but I just am not a fan.
Yeah,
I just truly am not.
Either.
And they always connected because of the wit, but that's what are we Dean fans? That's to be determined. But I do think that they did have a good connection, and it's because they could go back and forth about different books, and that's kind of what caught Rory's eye, I guess. And as a teenage girl, if a boy is interested in books.
Yeah, but that was her first boyfriend, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what we think, yeah. So I really think this introduces Dean and how he has to also work hard. You can kind of tell. And I think this is important to note in Dean because later you meet all the guys at Chilton and you're like, okay, I see the difference between this
silver spoon.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this hardworking has to work for what he has. Mm-hmm. Later you meet his little sister he has to carry around and take care of. Yeah. So I think that's important. But it really shows Rory's awkwardness, and it's completely valid because she is a teenager. It's her first boyfriend. But I don't know. The whole thing about I'm watching you. I've been watching you. Yeah. I watch you read.
Yeah. Creepy.
All the other people are doing this, and you're sitting there reading.
Yeah.
And then Rory's like, oh, yeah, let's keep walking along. I don't know. That's a red flag for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you're nice to look at. Yeah, awkward silence because that is awkward.
Crickets.
And then we're back at Weird Looking Luke's eating salads.
Burger and fries.
But I noticed that. I was like, Jennifer, do you see that? They're eating salads, and that is not a Lorelai and Rory thing. They are picking at it. And I'm sure it's a Luke thing because he's always trying to take care of them.
Yeah. It's something they would eat on Friday nights.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. So this is when Lorelai tells Rory about the Friday night dinners. And I kind of am not here for the interaction they have because it's I don't know, it's more angry and they're not as connected as they are in all the other episodes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this was just a pilot thing where they were just kind of testing the waters. But Rory's battling with not wanting to go to Chilton anymore. And it's very obvious that it's Dean.
Dean's fault.
Right. It completely makes sense. But I usually like the playful banter they have instead of that type of arguing. And then we are on the street of Stars Hollow and Miss Patty, which earlier Rory is helping Dean try to find a job, right? So Miss Patty references the male friend that Rory had. And Lorelai's like, oh, ding, ding, ding. I know why you don't want to go to Chilton anymore. And it's this big you're me argument.
Yep.
You're going to turn into me. And later in the other episodes, I feel like she trusts Rory's judgment more.
Mm-hmm.
So does that come along with like seeing her at Chilton, being able to handle herself more as an adult? Or is that just a let's try this in the pilot and oh, never mind, we need to change it to this?
Change it.
I mean, for real though, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Because it's an awkward, like it makes me, I couldn't sit there and watch them have like a Lorelai Emily Gilmore relationship.
No.
Because that's kind of what it seemed like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
She makes a statement, something like, I'm your mother and you are going to chill, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she makes that
and
statement.
it makes me think of Emily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's really, I mean, there's a few times throughout the rest of the series where she, you know, kind of gets a little Emily-ish, but this one was just really, I don't know. I just didn't like it as much. And then we transition out of that big fight to Suki burning something again.
No.
And I'm pretty sure that's the one. Yep, the whole stove.
Yeah.
What? Again. We like Suki.
I like Suki where she's like cooking amazing food and just awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not tripping and falling in the kitchen and hurting herself.
Yeah. And so this is the next day after the big argument, and we see that the verdict's in, that they're still arguing. And Rory comes to the end for half a second and then goes back home.
She's like, you want to work? Make some extra money?
Nope.
Go home.
So she goes home, and then the Friday night dinner.
Numero uno.
The very first one. And Lorelai asks Rory to act properly at the grandparents' house. And then she says you can pull a Menendez later. Okay. And so then Emily answers the door and immediately acts poorly towards Lorelai. And it's like Rory is the shiny new toy, right? That they absolutely love. And I'm sure that has to, and we know that later. It hurts Lorelai. Like, she doesn't, I don't think she ever wants to admit or admits in the series that they treat her better. But it's like that she references she's the daughter that they never had. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can immediately see how they absolutely adore Rory and they cannot stand Lorelai, and she just can't say anything. She can't say anything right.
But the dad is still standoffish. He's like reading his paper.
Right.
Kind of.
It's kind of awkward, but he hands Rory the newspaper, right? Because she knows she's smart. He knows she loves to read.
Yeah.
But then later he says to Lorelai, he's like, how are things at the motel? Yeah. Which is obvious. It's a slam coming from someone like higher up and more ritzy. Saying a motel versus an inn or a hotel is definitely a slam. And then he mentions Christopher. Which we have gotten into conversations on Instagram. People do not like Christopher, and for obvious reasons that we'll discuss when the episodes come up, and we need to slam him. Yeah. But it was another just jab at Lorelai from her dad. And at this point, Lorelai just storms out and she goes into the kitchen, and you can see how awkward Rory feels, but I also think she feels very torn and sad for her mother. Because, I mean, we don't know how often they've seen them. Okay, they've seen them at holidays, I think they mentioned.
She was like, when she opened the door, she was like, oh, is it Christmas?
Right.
Or Easter or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So is Rory completely used to this? Like, at holidays, do they just put a smile on and act like everything's fine? Or is it constant arguing? You know what I mean? I think she feels bad for her mom.
Yeah.
And it introduces all of the issues between Lorelai and her mother. Emily backs up Richard and says that Lorelai's dramatic. The 16 and pregnant issue comes up, and then it's just all laid out. Lorelai and Christopher didn't get married. They didn't follow the plan that her parents had. They didn't do the jobs that they had lined up for them. And then Lorelai starts to kind of, say, she backs herself up and says, I took care of myself. And that's a jab at Emily, because as a mother, I mean, you want to be able to take care of your child and your grandchild. But Lorelai did it on her own.
Yeah, that comes up a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely some feelings that need to be worked out with a therapist.
Yeah.
But
which Emily quit.
Right, exactly. But, Lorelai really, she's so hardworking. She started out as a maid. She obviously, you can tell, worked her way up to running and managing the inn. So, she has a good head on her shoulders, at least, as she continued to mature and grow up. But Emily then says, well, you have your precious pride and I have my weekly dinners. And it kind of
sums it all
up. But yeah, I also, like you mentioned earlier, there is some disinterest between Rory and Richard. So that is a little awkward, but I do end up loving the relationship that they have.
What's the golfing that connected them later on?
And I love that, that they were later able to have a deeper relationship, because I think that is important.
Yeah.
So, and I forgot to say, during that argument, Rory obviously hears that the grandparents are paying for Chilton,
which she didn't know.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
But she obviously heard it.
Yep.
And when they leave, Rory shares that she heard everything. She knows what they were arguing about. And she says, so sweet, little Rory says that she thinks it was really brave to ask for the money. Sure. And that she's going to go to Chilton. Yep. And then it's like all is well again between Rory and Lorelai. And it pretty much stays that way. So then back to Luke's. Luke and Lorelai flirt. One of the few times he's in a button-down shirt and not a flannel, right? And Luke makes a statement to Rory, you do not want to grow up and be like your mom. And Rory states, too late. So I think that just all ties it up. And it introduces their relationship and just how special it is through the whole rest of the series, right?
And everybody's hooked.
We're hooked.
That's why you're watching, because there were...
Or listening.
Yeah.
We forget.
Oh, sorry. Watching
and listening.
I meant watching the show.
Right. Oh, I thought you meant our podcast. But that's also why you're listening to our podcast, because you love Gilmore Girls. And when it's over, you don't want it to be over, so you want to talk about it. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
But it was an overall pretty good pilot, I think.
I think so.
Pilots are sometimes kind of rough.
Rough
getting started.
I continued watching it, so it must not have been too bad.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
We're so glad that you guys are here taking a chance on us. We were nervous. We were like, well, if we suck, we suck. It doesn't matter. This is for fun. We just wanted to kind of share our love for the Gilmore Girls with other people that love it, and just have
like a
different little world you can go to.
Yeah. Yeah, the fans are like really cool.
I know. I think so. Yeah. After talking to you guys on Instagram, and I've been sharing it with Jennifer, she's not as big into social media, but I've been sharing it with Jennifer, and she's been getting a kick out of it. So we just love the community and just being able to chat with other people. We think it's really cool about things that we love.
And we love to laugh. So.
Yeah, we do love to laugh. And we promise you laughs if you keep listening.
Yes.
We trip up over our words, and we're Southern, so our accents are fun. And we're going to cook some.
Accent.
You do have an accent, hush.
No.
She always likes to say, I don't have an accent.
I ain't got no accent.
But yeah, we're gonna cook later this week. So make sure you watch the Friday night episode. We're going to do some cooking. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, next 2 episodes, one will come out Wednesday and one will come out Friday. So we are very thankful that you guys are here. We had fun. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
See you guys later.